Hello, welcome to Marketing Matters, the show where we explore all things marketing and technology and uncover those things that matter for you and your success. I'm your host, Denise Millay, and my hope and mission is to bring marketing and technology to you in a way that's useful, without jargon, complexity, or confusion, so you can grow your business, expand your impact in the world, and build your best life. Today's episode is called Your Client's Perspective is Key to Success. And before we get started, I'd like to share a quote with you from Theodore Roosevelt. He was the 26th president. He says that people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And I wanted to share that with you today because we're going to talk about your client's perspective and how important it is for you to let them know you understand them when you're communicating with them and in your messaging. Okay, let's move on. So, your client point of view, how do you find it, right? Well, I'm going to say that you have to do the study of who you're talking to and who you're building the relationship with. And we do this in three ways. So, you create a mental image in your head, you research their world, and then you take a walk in their shoes to get what it feels like to be them. By mental image, I mean create a picture of this potential customer or client in your head, what they look like, where they live, what they do, what defines them. And you might be saying, well, why do we need to do this? I know who I want to target. Well, you don't want to sound like you're lecturing them. And if you don't have the right language to speak to them personally, then you run the risk of being a generalist and talking in higher terms. And that tends to let people feel like you're talking at them as opposed to engaging with them in a conversation. So if you don't have a mental image of someone in your head that you're speaking to, then you're just talking to a room full of people that are all different and you're speaking to them so you can capture all their attention as opposed to just one. And that subtle difference in your language can make or break your messaging. And we want to engage. Engagement is what moves people forward. So we want to use clear and natural language with that picture in our minds. That's going to help us cleave our vocabulary down to those things that are going to apply to our right fit client. So by taking the time to bring this instance of your potential customer or client into your mind, you get rid of the generic things. As I said, you don't place assumptions on them at all. If you bring them alive, how do they dress? What do they sound like? Gender, age, height, weight, build. Are they married? Do they have children? Do they have pets? Where do they live? It gets you ready to engage with them and begin to relate to them more closely. Now, you might say, well, Denise, I have a demographic of somebody that I want to work with, but I don't have a specific. Well, I'm saying that take one that seems most comfortable for you to work with. If you had to find your ideal person that you'd be most comfortable with, and sit down and describe them, separate them from other people that are of the same category, and find out what the differences are, because you might find that those little keys to language, like whether they like knitting or whether they like baking or whether they're active in fitness and they're runners, like those kind of characteristics, my goodness, really are going to help you with your language, because you won't use the same verbs for someone who is at home doing home type domestic things versus someone who's out in the world internationally traveling, for example. Okay? And there's no value judgment here. It's just getting to the place where the person that will respond best to what you have to offer them and what it is you're marketing, right? So you want to research what their world is like. What is their everyday life like, right? Do they like the outdoors? Do they work in an office? Are they comfortable with technology? Are they working at home? Well, after the pandemic, a lot of people are going back, but that wasn't a question you'd asked 2 years ago. Do they have hobbies like knitting, baking? Are they a Netflix and chill person, or are they a classic movie person, right? They're going to help you speak to them in context with what they understand. And you may not actually speak to them about Netflix, but say someone who's a Netflix person is familiar with streaming devices and watching streaming TV as opposed to broadcast TV or cable TV, and there's a big difference there now, right? Streaming TV is something that is more dynamic, and people have control over watching what they want to watch when they want to watch it, as opposed to someone who has to follow a schedule and used to read the TV guide, right? So everything is relevant when you're trying to put this picture together in your mind. So I strongly recommend that you write it down. There are prospect profile forms all over the place, but really just write down their story. Find a picture on the internet that looks like the person you're thinking of, and just write down as much as you can that you can think of about them and all their characteristics, and then start to build a life around them and to build their activities and what they do and who they live with and who they interact with in their city and where they live. And you'll be surprised what kind of cohesiveness you get from that picture when you sit down to actually craft your marketing messages. And then, okay, some people call this psychographics, okay? It's you want to take a walk in their shoes. You want to find out if they're frustrated at work. Do they have young children that they have? Are they looking to buy a home because they have a family? Do they have money worries that haunt them? Are they running on a treadmill traveling for work? Are they exhausted and they just need a break or a vacation? Okay. Now, you might say, well, these are life motivations, right? They're not necessarily things that in business you would market to them for. Well, I disagree. You're not speaking directly about these things, but you're speaking to outcomes that are going to help them in relation to the worries and concerns and things that they have in their personal life and their business life. And so if they are a business owner that you're marketing to, well, their personal worries impact their business. So you can't assume that all of their worries are only business related. If they need more revenue, most likely it's not just because they want to grow the business, but somebody at home needs a new car or they need a new roof or something like that. So they need to bring more income home to their family, and that pressure is driving them in their business. So I don't think that you're going to prey on them with these concerns or worries or try to manipulate them in any way, but you want to be realistic and understand the origin of their stressors and what is really going to resonate with them if they can see a clear path to more income that's going to benefit them, right? And their home life and their more income in their life. So you have to make those connections all the way through and kind of speak to that. If they're exhausted, is getting a virtual assistant going to help them out and take some tasks off their back so that they have more time at home with their family, or they have more time to travel, or just rest and relax or exercise or whatever it is that they need to do to feel better, right? So that's what I'm talking about when I talk about walking in their shoes, what keeps them up at night, psychographics. Just it's really what's going on in their mind. What stressors do they have in their life? What worries, anxieties, or happinesses? If they're a grandmother of two and they're retired and one of their grandchildren just graduates college, well, they might want to be around for 5 more years or 6 more years because they might want to see a wedding and see their granddaughter get married or something like that. So longevity and good health and all those things are more important as you get to life events for people, and they feel like they have that pressure that they want to extend their life and that it's real for them. So that's another case. Okay, so how do you apply this, right? And how do you apply it so it's not creepy or it's not overdone, right? Well, I'm going to say let's do an example, all right? Now take a look at these three photos. We have three women aged 58, okay? These are just random photos I found on the internet, and they did have the ages, so they are all 58. Now, if you looked at these three photos, can you name the characteristics that apply to all three with just what you see here? Okay, well, my shot at this is their hair is all above their shoulders. They're all 58 years old. They were born in 1960, and they're considered part of the baby boomer generation, right? What else can we assume? Not much, right? So if you're writing to them, what could you understand about them? Well, the baby boomer generation does indicate some aspects of life and history that are important in forming someone's personality. So these people uh, experienced the civil rights movement when they were very young. The Vietnam War was an issue when they were in their young years. The space race, Kennedy's assassination, the Cold War, post World War II is this generation, right? So it was a time of abundance and the GI Bill and migrating to the suburbs and family life and all this other stuff. But it was also a time of great turmoil because people were trying to craft different lives and try to make society better. We had just fought this huge war and trauma and tragedy, and so people were looking to not repeat the past, and the Vietnam War brought up a lot of nasty things, and so people formed their personas around that as that was going on. Um, some other things that we know of baby boomers is that they are into health, nutrition, fitness, and retirement. So those are the things that are relevant for them. They're more likely to buy products related to these things because it's where they are. Most of them have reached retirement age or are just on the retirement age. So saving and planning is also a big part of what they're doing. Um, Medical products that for longevity, diseases, desire to live longer as they get older. These are all going to be more appealing. Um, they're also interested in things that improve their lifestyle because they're older. They've had their careers and their young families, and now they're in another stage of life, and they have more disposable income to spend. Mind you, there have been some financial crises and all sorts of things, so this is just a blanket statement. It's not always completely true. There are different factors. Um, they don't mind spending on products that give them luxury and comfort if they are in a good place with income wise and or savings or retirement wise. A lot of these people will have pensions in some cases, so that's a different way of life than some of the younger generations who don't have pension options and have to build their own. um, And mind you, all these data I'm getting, these suggestions, all come from the Corporate Finance Institute, where they did a study on baby boomers and the characteristics of the group. This group also likes to travel. They are interested in the outdoors and relaxation and expanding the worldview. And they are interested in health and upcoming science and multi-generational experiences in some cases with grandchildren or children, family trips or cruises or things like that. Now, the other thing that there is true about them is they are financially stable with higher savings and disposable incomes to other generations, um, but they are less prone to succumb to peer pressure. So they are not followers in the sense of what they choose to do. They are not keeping up with the Joneses in a lot of cases, in some cases. So not just because of their age, right? It's not what everybody does at their age that they're interested in. It's what matters for their family and for their circumstance. And they will pursue additional luxury and lifestyle improvements like retirement homes or moving to Florida and things like that, if it fits with their category. If they have that dream of being golfers in older age, they will go, and it's easier for them to go. Um, Baby boomers enjoy social media, particularly Facebook. They're of that age group, most of them. They buy products online, so they're comfortable with that more than the older generations. And they enjoy watching videos online, whether it's cat videos or reels on Instagram or how-tos on YouTube. They spend time on those platforms. Um, these are just some general assumptions, right? So things we want to do is for this generation, we have to provide enough information for them. They are not susceptible to gimmicks. They don't like them. You'll turn them away. They are a mature demographic who's seen a lot of things and they don't have a lot of time to waste on silly, nonsensical gimmicks. Okay? So they're not totally unfamiliar with technology. A lot of them grew up with it, a lot of them worked in it. And so you can't really just assume that they're old and they have no idea. They know and they won't respond to gimmicky things. So you have to present direct and factual information for them that's enough for them to make their own informed purchase or decision. Okay. They also expect excellent customer service, a big turnoff for them, especially if they were in a professional setting. They have no time for somebody who doesn't treat their customers well. They know that there are 100 businesses in line waiting for their transaction if you don't take care of them, and they will walk away and they will complain. So, you want to make sure that they appreciate marketers who understand that and they give good customer service. They appreciate businesses that do that and they will become loyal. But if you don't treat them well, there's no chance you will getting loyalty. And that's especially true in after sales, the service they get after sales. If there's nobody there to answer them after they purchase a product and they have an issue or question, it's a huge turnoff, and you will make sure they are a one and done customer if you don't respond to them properly. So these are some things that we know about baby boomers, right? So these are all incredibly helpful, and we can make these assumptions about these three women that we've seen. But is that really enough to write a message that speaks to someone and engages with them on a personal level? And so I'm going to ask you, can you do better than that? And the things in the last section provide context, provide thinking and abstract concepts about these people and clues on how they're going to react or behave, right? But I'm saying that we can do better if we take the time to understand not only those contextual things and generational things that come with their age and their some of their demographic information, but if we understand their customer journey with us, where they're traveling, whether they need information or research, or whether they're trying to compare providers, or whether they're ready to buy, or whether they need support after the sale, if we understand that journey and we respond to questions and concerns at each phase with language that supports them getting to know us, like us, and trust us, then we are going to pull them closer to us and engage them for conversation. So if you create a full profile on an instance of your ideal client and persona of someone, and you do the demographics and what they look like and all their physical characteristics, where they grew up, their social, their lifestyle, and yes, it's fiction. Create the story behind them. Create an instance of somebody that you resonate with the most. Preferences, activities, children, grandchildren, pets, lifestyle, living, where they live, the burbs, the city, what was their profession, what savings level are they at. If you put that all together, then you can write a story about them when they encounter your product. What they need at the time they encounter your product. What are they looking to solve? What's the outcome they desire most? And you can speak to those things in your messages and it will resonate with them better. So for example, if our 58-year-old woman, had 2 grandchildren, she loved to bake and knit and was a retired teacher, would you be successful if you spoke to appearance or vanity or sports fitness? Probably not, right? But if you spoke travel, family, security, healthy language to live longer, absolutely, right? So here are our 3 women. And so I want to show you the different characteristics of them and have you imagine what difference you would see in the language of these 3 women if you knew these facts about them. So here's our retired teacher. She's a grandmother of 2. She's an avid baker. She likes to knit and she loves cruises. okay? Our woman in the center is a retired financial executive, corporate. She loves cycling and biking. She lives in New York City. She loves international travel. The woman on the end is a physician. She's currently still working. She's the mother of one. She's an avid reader. She lives in a suburban area near the hospital she works in, and she loves yoga. Now, right off the bat, do you get a different vibe from each one? You might get the woman here is more of a family oriented home, domestic, family is important, cruises, family experiences, family trips, expanding on that. She probably is involved in the community. She probably goes to grandchildren's sports games and plays and does all that stuff. The woman in the center, I would call more like an urban professional who's now retired and has time to do the cultural and experiential things she didn't get to do while she was a corporate executive. She probably has disposable income to use to travel internationally and seek out experiences that are unique. She's probably has a good tight group of friends that she may travel with, and she knows her way in and out of hotels and airports and all those other things, and fine dining and things like that. So her message would be totally different than the woman on the left. And then the woman on the right is a professional, an active still professional, so she's still dedicating most of her time to her profession. She has one child, but she doesn't have a lot of extra time to fill in with her dreams and hopes and whatever, so she's doing what she can with her spare time, and that's yoga and reading and supporting her one child. So those three women, if you had those personas in front of you, which one, how would you talk to them, right? Would your language change? And I would say yes, right? So if you have that story in front of you and that picture in your head of one of these women, I would love you to script something for your product, speaking to each one of them and see if the language is different. Yeah, so I think that this exercise, if you actually do it and take the time to do it, and mind you can have multiple people. You could have three women that are 58 if that's your target audience, and craft different personas and try to find commonalities in language across them so your message reaches a broader swath of people. But I also think it's a good exercise for you to craft it based on one and see if you can get it to be engaging and conversational for that one person. What words would you use to entice them to respond to your offers and to engage with you and speak with you on social media? What would mean something to them, right? If you spend this extra time and do this before you prepare your messaging, I believe that you will get much better results. If your website is crafted after you do this and your language on your pages is directed at a persona as opposed to sharing cold features or things about your products or things about your business, you want to relate whatever you write to the person that you're targeting and make sure the outcomes that they want are referenced in your materials so that when they visit you wherever you are, whether it's your social media profile, whether it's in a post or an article, or whether it's your website, they understand that you're speaking to them. And that direct communication is going to take you much further than a canned message that is professional and contains all the facts. Because, people buy on emotions and they justify it on facts, right? You make a sale on emotions. They reach out to you on emotions. So you have to speak to that first. And then you have to justify it with facts. Okay? So I'm not saying your website doesn't have facts. It does. But you also have to engage them and do the upfront work to engage them first on emotions, make them move on the journey to the deeper pages that have the facts on it once they've engaged in that. Or on your checkout pages, you have the facts because then that helps support their decision and make sure they're in the right place, right? So, anyway, that's my presentation today. I hope you enjoyed it. I have a free gift for you today. It's called 5 Free Online Tools That'll Change Your Business. You can go to mmediagroupllc.com/free-gift and sign up there, and you'll get an email with a link to the download. I also want to tell you a little bit about things that I do for my clients. I am a marketing technology specialist, but I specialize in creating websites, digital products, marketing automations for people who just don't have the time to do it themselves. So I love to create solutions that save people time and make technology easier and less confusing and less cumbersome for people. So if you have any questions or you're interested in any of my services, please go to my website at mmediagroupllc.com, or you can also visit dmillet, MILLET.com, and see another sample website there. Thanks. And thank you. I'm so glad you could join me for this episode of Marketing Matters. I know how precious your time is, and my hope is that you came away from this with one or two nuggets that you can apply to your business. My aim is to provide clear, useful info for you so that you can have a thriving business, amazing relationships with your customers and clients. And as always, if you have any questions, please reach out on my Facebook page, Denise Millet, or send me a message via my website. Thank you so much.